everyone, I'm Allie Buchman with the Potomac Bead Company, and I'm going to be doing this bracelet for you today featuring our RounDuo beads, which is one of our first beads that we produced, and it's a RounDuo, which is a 2-hole round that is 5 millimeters. And this running river bracelet here, if you need any of the materials to do it, on the left-hand side, we'll do a little drop downs that you can do links to purchase from online or take in your list to the local Potomac Bead Company and purchase there as well. Also, if you're on a device or a mobile that they don't pop up, underneath the video there's a little description always of what the video is about with its name and kind of the techniques and stuff that are used. If you hit the little show more button or the down arrows, they'll give you links there to purchase from me online. For this bracelet, we are going to be using, like I said, the RounDuo beads. Whether or not you want to do one color or 2 colors or more colors, it's kind of up to you. For the design that we'll be doing together, I'm using 2 of the RounDuo colors. Down the center here, we have the Crystal Graphite Rainbow. Whatever bead you use in the center, you're going to use approximately 12 to 14 beads, depending on your wrist size. The RounDuos come in packs of 75, so you'll have plenty if you do want to do the whole bracelet in one color. On the outer edges, I'm going to use the opaque lilac bead. The opaque lilac is that nice kind of soft purple color. And for the outer bead, if you are doing 2 different colors, you're going to need approximately 22 to 26 of those RounDuo beads. That's going to get you that outer edge. Like I said, if you do want to do it all one color, you'll have plenty if you just get 1 pack of your RounDuo beads. In the little sample piece here, I have that opaque sunflower yellow with the Picasso finish on it, giving it kind of a natural gemstone look. For the bracelet, in addition to the RounDuos, you could also use the round trio beads. So if you do have round trios at home, you could use 2 different round trios or 1 round trio. Get kind of the same look. It'll just be a little bit bigger because the round trio is 6 millimeters versus the 5 millimeters of the RounDuo. I'll explain in the video a couple different times how you can actually switch and use the round trios versus the RounDuos. Along the sides, and to keep this bracelet very simple, I'm simply going to be using 11/0s and 15/0 seed beads. Again, you can get creative and use more than 1 color. If you wanted to use a different color of 11/0s in the center of the bracelet than you use in the outside, you can do that. I'm going to be doing this simple and sticking with 1 color of my 11s and 1 color of my 15s. The sample piece here that I had, it was done with the Toho brand seed beads, which tend to be a little bit kind of boxier in look, and it's that starlight color and then that galvanized silver color in the 15s. For the bracelet we'll be doing together, we're going to be using the Miyuki, and we're going to be using Duracoat purple color in the ammonite. And when we go through, anemone, when we go through and add the purple in here, we are going to be using those on the outer edge and on the middle. Again, like I said, if you want to pick up a different color of the 11/0s, you can pick up a second color of the 11/0s and kind of change the look completely. For the 15/0, we are also using the Miyuki, and I'm going to be using the opaque smoke gray luster. I used this color in another video recently. I really like kind of that almost pewtery, soft pewter look that it pulls, and it actually makes a nice complement to that graphite rainbow down the center. Again, if you want to, you can do 2 different colors of your 15/0s, 1 kind of at the middle there, that crest, and 1 on the outside. Again, we're sticking it easy and just going with 1 color of each size of the seed bead. To bead the whole thing, we are using size 10 beading needles, and this is a 2 needle project. So you're going to have 2 needles on 1 piece of thread. About 5 to 6 feet of thread will be able to get you kind of crisscross through and do the whole project. For the thread, I'm using 0.006 wildfire beading thread in the green color. To burn the thread ends and to make my knots and get the thread ready to get off the spool, I'm using my Thread Zap 2. You can use your Thread Zap Ultra, your cord cutter, any thread burner will do. In addition to that, I have some super new glue sitting handy in case you do like to glue. I have a needle nose pliers here to flatten out the end of my thread, which is going to make it easier to thread the needles. And then at the very end of the bracelet, I do have one of our cup buttons, and this is the transparent, that violet color of the cup button if you're going along. If you do have a clasp that you want to use, a lobster clasp, a toggle, something like that, you may also want to have some wire guards or wire protectors, 2 for that, 1 for each end that you're working on. You also want a nice workable surface, something that's nice and flat, has a little bit of the texture to it in order to make it easier for you to pick up and work with your seed beads. I usually use my bead on it board or a bead mat in order to achieve that kind of nice workable surface. To get started, we are going to have about 5 to 6 feet of your beading thread with a needle on each end, one on the left and one on the right of that thread ends. Make little piles of your beads because we're going to get ready to use kind of all the beads at the start of the bracelet. We're going to be using both styles of our seed beads and both styles of our RounDuo beads. So to get started, because it is a 2-needle project, you have your 2 needles again on about that 5 feet of beading thread. And what I want you guys to do is to pick up your cup button first. We're going to start with the inner row of the RounDuos, and again I'll be using 2 colors. So we're going to do the purple color on the outside and then that crystal graphite rainbow running down the middle. To start out with a cup button or whatever clasp you want, if you're doing a metal clasp, I would suggest doing a wire guard or a wire protector, and you'd put that on now along with your clasp. If you're doing a cup button like me here, you're going to do 15, 11, 15 on one of your needles, right or left. You're going to take one needle through the right side hole of the cup button and the other needle through the left hand hole of the cup button. When you're taking the needles through, you're taking them through the dome side and out to the back flatter side. When you pull through, then it's just going to decorate the top of that button with a couple seed beads. Another fun idea is you can actually take our 10mm Rivolis. Don't put anything in to begin with, just the thread, and then take some E6000 beads and you can add a little bit bling to this RounDuo bracelet by adding a 10mm crystal Rivoli to it. When you're coming out the back of the RounDuo, go ahead and pick up 3 of your 15O seed beads on both the right needle and the left needle. Let those drop down next to the cup button here. And you want to make sure also at this time that you have equal amounts of thread on each side of your needle, because you don't want to get to the end and have more on one side than the other. Now that I have those 3 seed beads in place on each side of the back of the cup button, we're going to take an 11O seed bead and we're actually going to take our thread and needle, 2 of them through this 11O. So I have the 11O here on my right needle. I'm going to drop it down so it's on the thread. And then I have my left needle that's going to go through that same 11O in the same direction. Pulling the threads then. You're going to have a little bit of a V section there. The nice thing about the V is it's going to make the clasp or the actual loop for the button, it's going to make it easier for it to stay on when you do that V shape. Now we get to go in and actually start with the design. And again, like I said, we're going to start with the interior row, doing the interior of the bracelet with that galvanite or with that graphite color, and then the purple on the outer sides. On the outer edge, we're only going to be connecting to the first hole to start. On the inner ones, we are going to be going through both holes of the RounDuos. So in the inner bead, the RounDuo holes are going to sit from left to right. On the outer side with the purple, the RounDuos are going to sit with their holes vertical, basically from top to bottom. So we've got horizontal through the middle bead and then vertical holes going through on the side beads there. To get started to add our first of our RounDuos, we're going to start with our little diamond there. The RounDuo that's going to start again is going to be our crystal graphite. And because we have the needles together here, we are going to actually add a couple seed beads before we start. To add a couple seed beads, I want to go ahead and, like I did previously, add 3 15s on each needle. After we have 3 15s on each needle, and let those drop down, we're going to pick up our first of our round duos. The round duos, when you're looking at them, again, that middle bead, the holes are going to go horizontal. One needle is going to go from the left side to the right side, and the other needle is going to go from the right to the left. So we're crisscrossing through the first hole of that round duo bead. And that's going to pull the round duo bead right into place there, right along the sides. To get from the bottom hole to the top hole of the round duo bead, go ahead and put 3 of your 15-0s. So 3 15-0s are going to kind of be the magic number. 3 15-0s on the right needle. Then what you're going to do is take your needle that's on the right and go through the top hole of the round duo, coming out the left-hand side. On the left side then, same thing. The nice thing when you work with 2 needles, you definitely, or you usually just have kind of a mirror effect going. Whatever you do on the left, you also do on the right. So we put those on our left needle, and we're going to take the thread and needle then through that top hole of the round duo and coming out on the right side. So now your needles should sit on opposite sides of that round duo bead. And those 3 beads are just going to kind of hang out there on the side. From there, we continue now with that same pattern of the middle. And to add the beads on the outside, you're going to pick up 2 of your 11-0 seed beads, 1 of your round duo, 2 11-0 seed beads on both needles. And if you have trouble working with a left needle or 2 needles, just simply put down the one hand and use your right hand to grab with each side. Once you have those in place, you'll see those are just going to kind of hang out on the side of the project. From there, then we add the next round duo, and the next round duo is going to be one of the middle beads. And the middle beads, as we're adding them, again, it's going to be done in that same fashion, picking up the round duo, going through the first hole, one needle from right to left, and the other from left to right, pulling those threads then, and dropping that round duo right down next to the other one. You can see it kind of creates almost that diamond pattern. It gets a little bit more rounded out as we add the beads along the outer edge. When you are on the sides of that crystal graphite, grab 3 15-0s with your right needle, and then take that right needle through the second hole, going and coming out the left-hand side. Pick up your left needle and repeat. We'll get those 3 15-0s on. We're going to go from left to right. Making sure when you are going through that round duo, see how that kind of caught on to that 15-0. You don't want to catch on to any 15-0s. You're just going through the holes. Give a tight little pull after each section and continue on. So just to kind of refresh here, when you're on the sides then, grab 2 11s, another round trio in the opposite color, 2 11s. With the right needle, same thing, 2 11s, 1 round duo, and 2 11s. The same pattern could also be done with the round trio beads if you have those. The counts are just going to be a tiny little bit different. Along the sides of the round trios, you're going to need 5 of your 15-0s, and then I would separate with 3 to 4 of your 11-0s if you are using the round trio. Once you have those side beads on, again, go through another one of those crystal graphite, crisscrossing through the first hole with the needle going from right to left and left to right. Once I come out then, I progress by adding the 15s on the side and switching the needles by going through the second hole. This same repetitive pattern goes on the whole length of the bracelet. When we get done the length of the bracelet, we'll go ahead and add in a loop for our cup button to fit in. And then we'll come back down the bracelet, adding in some of the beads on the outer row. So go ahead and continue for the length of your wrist, anywhere usually between 6.5 to 7 inches. And then we'll get ready to put on the loop and start coming back down the outer row, adding in some more seed beads and catching that second hole of the RounDuo that sits on the side. Once you're to the end of the design, we're going to go ahead and make the loop for our button to sit in. To make the loop for the button, we're going to repeat the same thing that we did at the start of the button with the 3/11 or the 3/15s, then the 1/11, and then coming in and making a loop. So to do so, you're coming out your last RounDuo in that crystal graphite color, just as if you would be continuing on, kind of making your little diamonds there. Go ahead and add 3/15s and then 1/11 seed bead. Do that with one needle, and then pick up the other needle and do the same thing, adding 3 seed beads, and going over to the 11 that you just put on the other opposite needle and going through that same 11 seed bead. Again, what that's going to do is make that little bit of a point there. I always like my loops for my buttons to come into a central point rather than kind of going around a bead. That way it's going to keep the bracelet on tighter because your loop kind of has a smaller opening. Now go ahead and take one of the needles and add about 32 or so of your 15/0 seed beads. And these, again, they are the Miyuki brand, so you're going to use a little bit less than that if you are using the Toho brand. Because especially with the 15/0s, you can see from here to here, the Miyuki versus the Toho, they are a little bit bigger. They almost look like a little bit of a delica. So your count for your seed beads can be the same, but your loop may be just a little bit different because you are getting a bunch of seed beads in a line. Once you have your seed beads in place, and you know that it's big enough to go around your button, we're going to reinforce the loop by taking the other thread and going back through all of these seed beads. So with the thread that I originally started with, I'm going to take my needle down through the 11/0 and down through the 15/0s, the set of 3 15/0s. Picking up your other needle, also go through that whole row of 15s that you just added, which is going to put 2 threads, like I said, reinforcing through this loop. Anytime I do a clasp or closure, I never want just one thread going through the end. Sometimes I'll even do 3 times. That's because that's the area that you're going to have the most tension on the bracelet, is right at the ends, because you're going to be taking it on and off. Once we're through all those seed beads, I'm going to go down through that 11, and then make sure you're going down the opposite side of those 3 15s. Give a nice little yank so you don't have any extra thread like that. And that is going to be your loop for your button to fit in. If you are going to put a crystal Rivoli in the middle there, you do want to make sure that the loop is a tiny bit bigger because it is going to push the button out just a tiny little bit. Once we have the sides here, now what we get to do is actually come down the edges. When you're looking here at the little sample piece, we're going to be coming down the edges, adding in 3 11s into our round trios, and then pick up the second hole of the round trio. The 15/0s on the outer edge here will come back down the project one more time. So I just caught myself too saying round trio instead of RounDuo because I said that you could do it with either, so keep saying round trio. But with your RounDuo bead here then, and your needle coming out, in order to progress, we're going to go through 2 of our 15/0s on the sides of our last round duo so that you're coming out basically the middle of that grouping of 3. And obviously you're doing it on the right hand side with the right needle and the left with the left needle. From this point on, the needles will stay to the right and to the left. When you're coming out the 15-0, you're going to add 3 of your 11s and then go into the outer hole of the round duo on the side. Again then, 3 11s, go into the center 15 along the side of the middle round duo. And that's just going to continue. So again, 3 11s into the round duo. And again, we're just kind of staying on that outer edge. Pour out some more supplies here. And then on goes 3 more. So again, 3 is the magic number again. Going through that middle 15. 3 more on. And you're just going to continue down the right side for an inch or 2, and then go down the left side for an inch or 2, and pick up alternating. The reason I like to alternate the sides and not come down one side and then go over and switch over and do the other side completely is because it keeps the tension even between the project if you kind of switch between the left and the right. So now that I've gone down about an inch, down inch and a half down the left right hand side, I'll come down the left. If you're more comfortable sewing with your right hand, just simply flip the project over. So now what was on the left is on the right. And again, once you're out that 15-0 on the side of the last round duo, you're going to pick up 3 seed beads and then come down the hole of the outer round duo. 3 more seed beads get added and pick up that center 15-0. So again, I'm just repeating this down the right hand side and the left hand side, continuing the whole way till I get to my button. As you come down the end of the bracelet, when we get to the very last beads that we're adding, so we have our 3 11-0s here on this right hand side, we're going to go and repeat basically what we did on the opposite side by going through that 3rd bead, but then also going through the 15-0s that sit on the side of that last round duo, up through the cut button, down the cut button on the opposite side, out through the 15-0s, and what this is doing is reinforcing that cut button, down through the 11-0. With the needle on the opposite end now, I had already gone through that middle 15-0. Now continue up the rest of them along the side here, through that 11, up the 15s, through the beads at the top with this one, down the cut button on the opposite side, down those 15s there, and again out the 11. As I go out the 11, then I'm going to take the needle and thread and go down the entire right hand side, or the left hand side here, coming out of my beads at the very edge of the last of my 11s. So I'm coming out right there on the 11s. With the right needle then, I'll go down this right side, go down all the 15s, and come out that whole line right there, going down through the 15s as well as the 11. That gave me an opportunity to put 3 strands total through the cut button, which is great because, again, we do want to reinforce that closure. Coming down now on the right hand and left hand side, it's super simple. And you can actually be done with the bracelet at this point if you want. It gives it a different look to keep it open on the outer edge here, not decorating the last RounDuo bead versus closing it up. So that's kind of the fun thing of this bracelet. At this point, you can stop if you want to. You could also crisscross and add Montes or something along in the middle if you didn't want that open look to it. What I'm going to do is, based on this sample piece, when I'm coming down the outer edge, pick up 5 15s. We're done with the 11s now. So 5 15s get picked up. And I skip down then right through the beads that I just put on my last time down the bracelet. Down through the 3 11s on the side, through that pointed 15, and out through the 3 11s on the side. 15s go on, grouping of 5, and then down through the beads as well. So down through the 3 11s, down through the 1 15, and back out through the 3 11s to the top of the RounDuo. That also brings a little bit of the kind of that pewtery silver to the outside to mirror the graphite. Just like we did when we were coming down and adding these 11s that were going back through. I'm going to do a couple inches on the right hand side here, and then switch over and do a couple inches on the left, and switch from right to left and left to right as I continue down, adding on to the bracelet. Once you get to the last point that you're putting in the last of the 15 seed beads, you're just going to add them in right through as if you're continuing on. And then I have the left hand thread here out the corner, or that third bead, middle bead rather, around the middle of the RounDuo. On the right hand side, I'm going to take the thread up through all the seed beads along the side, up through the 11 seed bead, and use this opportunity to get a third strand of beads, or I'm sorry, a third strand of thread through all of my beads at the clasp. So because we were going up and back the project, it gave us an opportunity to reinforce both sides 3 times. Coming down then, we'll go through to come down the opposite side. And once I'm completely down through all of the 15-ohs, I'm also going to come down that center 11, come down the 3 15s along the left-hand side, which is then going to have my thread ends exiting at the same place. So I have my 2 thread ends there right along the side. The nice thing when you have 2 strands or 2 threads, you don't actually have too much work to do to close off the bracelet. I'm simply going to take the 2 thread ends and literally just tie them in square knots, right over left, left over right. This bracelet does not have a back and a front, so you don't have to worry about that, but usually what I will do is kind of bring that knot to the back of the project. Like I said, with this one, it does not matter at all because there is no front or back. If you want to, you can drop a little glue down on the knot that you just made. You can also grab your thread burner that you have handy and take that burner. I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch on my thread ends and burn through. And then I'm going to take my thread burner and just burn those thread ends nice down flush. And what that's going to do is actually create a stop there after the knot so that my thread ends ball up a little bit and that knot's going to stay in place. After you're done with the thread burner and burning off the thread ends, you are completely finished with your bracelet. It has that nice open kind of airy look. You can see the difference between kind of the Miyuki versus the Toho seed beads, and kind of what effect you will get with the Toho just being a little bit bigger. You get almost a pointed effect, whereas the Miyuki, you're getting more of a rounded effect as you're working with them. You also can change up the design. This one here, I have that opaque yellow sunflower color, that Picasso, and then just the seed beads in the metallic color versus doing something more monochromatic and changing up the beads along the outer edge. Again, this is done with the RounDuo beads. You can also do it with the round trios though, and just changing up the count a little bit, adding in 2 additional 15s at every point and 1 or 2 additional 11/0s at each point will do that for you. And you're just going to use the outer 2 holes if you are using a round trio bead. As you do this bracelet, it's kind of fun to see the variety that you can have. Again, keeping that outer edge open versus closing it up. Adding different colors of seed beads in the middle. You could have stuck some more 11/0s in the middle there in a different color. Silver would have looked nice. And just kind of playing around with a nice simple design. This is a great one that if you have friends that are just getting into beading or somebody that you want to teach how to bead, this is a nice simple up and back project that is easy to follow along. As always, if you need any of the materials, you can go back to the beginning of the video to the little drop down menu where there's links for the different materials if you do want to purchase from me, or go to your local Potomac Bead Company store and purchase there. If you don't have the little links, or if you'd rather, you can go down below the video to the little description that says what the video is about. And if you click the show more button and drop down, that'll give you links to all the different products to purchase from me online. As always, if you want to stay connected, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel to get regular updates on different beads that we carry, things that are going on in the beading industry. Lots and lots of tutorial ideas and just general basic knowledge for that. You can also stay interactive and connected with us more at PotomacBeads.com and on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that good stuff. You can also join our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. There you can ask questions, like I had the question, what to name this fun RounDuo bracelet. You can have an interactive forum basically there for asking questions, getting help, showing designs, and it's just a really great group of people to interact with. If you need anything else, always too, you can comment on this video and we'll try to help you out. And as always, while creating, have fun, and thanks so much for watching, everybody.